It is my absolute honor to welcome you to my Amenten. You have, such incredible wisdom and insight. And there's so many spiritual lessons that you have to teach my Amenten. I can't even begin to describe to you how excited that I am to have you join the astrological and spiritual community here at the Amenten. Now, it's my Amenten that you're coming, and it's my Amenten that you're joining, officially becoming a person in my Amenten. But I don't like going in that direction because it makes me sound as if I am owning people, like they are part of, who I am, and I don't agree with that. Everyone, stands on their own 2 feet. Everyone lives their own life. Everyone has their own experience. Everyone is on their own path and does their own thing. And the very last thing that I would do is limit your creative, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual expression. I think the first thing to make clear is that we are both alike in the sense that we both have a fascination and an ongoing curiosity for astrology. And we also discovered astrology around about the same time. But here is something that I'm going to say. Now, this does not, I'm not saying this to diminish you or any way, but I'm just stating the fact. You said in one of your videos that you discovered astrology in 2020, in August of that year when you got a reading. Now, my experience discovering astrology was like this. In the summer of 2018, I was on a reading fix. I was really into reading books, and I've read more books in my lifetime than I have ever read, and I was reading a book series called The Underland Chronicles, and, you can, dig into that and find all the pearls of wisdom within that, because Susan Collins wrote not only The Hunger Games, but The Underland Chronicles. She wrote The Underland Chronicles before she wrote The Hunger Games. And I wish that more attention and emphasis was placed on The Underland Chronicles. I'm disappointed that there's not movies for those books. The Underland Chronicles. This story is about, a boy growing up in New York City, Gregor, whose sister, ends up getting in a dryer or a washing machine and then ends up falling down a hole, and then he goes down that hole with her, and then they find themselves in a world called the Underland. And so there's this whole story with, giant cockroaches, life-size cockroaches, bats. But here's the deal, the cockroaches are not, evil or, with the intention of attacking and hurting or consuming. They're not vicious in any way. The creatures of the Underland are really magical and spectacular, and I was very, compelled and very absorbed into the story of the Underland Chronicles in the summer of 2018. And there's 5 books in the whole series. I've read 3 of them. I haven't read the other 2. And so within this book, within this book series, and there's several chapters to this. They end up, solving, solving, challenges and going on these epic adventures. And then this, there's these female characters and these human characters that he meets, and in every single book, there's these prophecies, which are so, deep, and they sort of foretell the adventure that he will be going on. It's sort of like a mystery to solve, in which, he ends up solving, he and the others involved in the book ends up solving and putting the puzzle pieces together of all those prophecies. So anyway, with all that being said, one of the characters in that particular book was a bat spelled Aries, or Eris. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it's spelled A-R-E-S. I was at my grandparents' house, and, my mom, had her phone. She told me, oh, you're an Aries. And I was like, what? I'm pretty sure I read that in a book, and I'm pretty sure that is a fictional character that I read, which is a bat. But then I, sort of found out about birth sign thing. I thought this was very interesting, and of course that's how so many of us start on our astrological journey, with learning about the signs and the elements. And I started getting into the sun signs, and sort of the little pieces came together to sort of form all the knowledge that I have about it now. To the point where I'm making, videos, astrology videos, and I'm putting out content on it, just like you are. So it started in 2018. We were eating at Applebee's, a restaurant. I was going around the table asking everyone their signs. I found out that the signs were symbolized by different things. My mom's a Capricorn, my dad's a Leo. I have none of that in my chart. My grandma is a Pisces, my grandpa is a Taurus, has a lot of Taurus in his chart. So I, found out about that, and it sort of, I sort of stopped there. And then in the spring of 2019, it started back up again, where I was, really intrigued by this, and I started getting into it. So I saw, a video about, Aries, and I started learning about that. And, if you're not familiar with the astrologer and psychotherapist Deborah Silverman, she was the first astrologer I've ever followed and ever watched. She really started it all for me. And, getting technical here when it comes to astrology, I now understand that her North Node is in Scorpio, and my North Node is in Taurus. And so, that's what I call a nodal, I guess you could say a soulmate, or, nodal partner, I guess you could say, where your North Node is aligned with their South Node in the same sign or conjunct their South Node, and then your South Node is conjunct their North Node, the anima kind of, where you can teach somebody else, but you can also learn and, move forward and progress and, evolve and retire toward your spiritual destiny. Whereas, in my opinion, if you have somebody whose South Node is in one sign, and then somebody else with the South Node in the same sign, maybe you would feel drawn away from them, just like an atom. How protons and electrons, I'm pretty sure if I'm getting this correct, protons and electrons come together, they attract one another. I think the same magnets repel one another. Not to say that, the opposite cannot happen, but that's just my personal opinion, and I strongly believe that that is true. So, anyway, but now I was going to learn that later. So, I found this woman whose name was Deborah Silverman, and she is not only an astrologer but a psychotherapist. And I was seeing this one little video where she was in front of an audience. It was really, it was taped in 2008 or something like that. And you can go on YouTube, type in Deborah Silverman Astrology, Aries, and you'll find that, video where she's doing what she calls public schizophrenia. She is acting out and doing an impression of, she did it for all 12 signs. And I have not found another astrologer who did that. Now, she is also a Gemini, and, you're a Gemini, so, you can go see that video and, like that. And, they're a little exaggerated and a little animated. But still it gives you an idea of, the different personalities of just sort of, poking fun or making fun at these personalities in the best way. Not in a, mean or anything like that. But, in all the best of ways, of course. Having done what she has done for over 40 years at this point. So, she started it. She makes it, very simple, very concrete. I started getting into learning about the sun signs through videos on Howcast, videos, on YouTube generically, videos from a YouTube channel called Modern Cosmic Astrology. I'm pretty sure it's called. And so, I was watching her talking about the sun signs. So over the summer of 2019, I was learning about the different sun signs, and I started watching Deborah Silverman's little videos that she would put out every couple of days about where the moon was and where the planets were. So I started that. I wish I started it earlier, but it was in October of 2019 that I started watching that. So I followed her. I even took it into my own hands and made videos like her, which I didn't post, although maybe I will archive videos during the Mercury retrograde seasons on my channel. So I did those videos. I made them. I had fun with making the videos talking about where the moon was, etc. And then it sort of grew from there, where 2020 I was following Deborah Silverman. In 2021 I started following the astrologer Pam Gregory, who looks at it from a very different perspective. The astrologer Pam Gregory looks at it from a mundane perspective, a mundane point of view, which is a world outlook, painting, looking at it from a big picture perspective, but really painting in very fine detailed strokes. So I started watching her. I also started following the spiritual teacher, oracle card expert, and creator, call it Baron Reed, as well. So the spirituality was mixed in with that. And then in the fall of 2021, in the fall of 2021, I started following so many other astrologers. Nadia Shah, if you're familiar with her, Braca Goldsmith, who is probably one of the most, has probably the biggest following. And she has been, really on there. She was one of the pioneers for being a YouTube astrologer, making videos about, astrology on YouTube. She was one of the, early people of that. And, her approach is one that is empowering and uplifting. And it's very, very similar to your approach with talking about astrology. So I highly recommend that you go, watch her, especially, her videos and her live streams. So yeah, I started doing that, and then I, sort of started my own YouTube channel, started learning about all these different things, started making, general astrology videos. I started making, videos about the planets and signs and things. I started making forecast videos for what's going on, with this new moon is about, this planetary transit, all those things, and here we are. So, with all that being said, I really believe that you had so much spiritual insight and wisdom, and you took the astrology and then you tied that into all of that. And, I sort of incrementally, started learning about that, and then new doorway, just opened up to me at that point. So, that's how I found astrology. In terms of plans here that I have, one of the biggest things that I'm thinking of is doing kind of an album, perhaps, of music that pays homage to you, because that's a huge thing that we do, at my Amenten, is we pay homage and honor the, Amenten guest or person through music, through, occasions that we have going on. And a huge part of that is resemblances, where we have, where we take this person and we look at, okay, who are they in resemblance to? And then we have a thing called a resemblance ceremony, and we honor and, look at their, finding appreciation for the similarities and differences, it's both ends. So, yeah, I am planning, I had this idea in my mind of creating meditations for all of the different nodal placements. And the one that I'm particularly interested in at this point is when you have somebody with the North Node in the sign of Scorpio. I've been very interested in that particular placement because I know of several people who have that placement, and I'm very drawn to those people. And I am thinking back to 2013, when I had my reverse nodal return, because my North Node's in Taurus, my South Node's in Scorpio, so the nodes were opposite at that time. I'm thinking back to the summer of that year when I was sick and I had a cough with my family, and I went to Kentucky, and also I took swimming lessons, which initiated the fear of going underwater at that point, and I sort of, the thing about learning to relax, learning to trust other people, it was sort of a time where, go back to your roots, go back to the South Node, go back to, what you're used to. And, of course, North Node and Scorpio doesn't necessarily have to do with, getting along with others, and sharing specifically, more deals with, trusting, putting trust and, being open to, I guess merging with other people and being in a deep soul connection with somebody else and partnership, and to release attachment to material things. These are some of the things I understand about the placement, and I find that it overlaps with this particular placement, or, cycle that we're in of the North Node and Taurus. Anyway, so, that's one of the things, doing meditations for all of the signs, and also there, Paulette Baron Reed, as I mentioned before, has many oracle decks. I have several of her decks, and I really think that you going through each and every card of the decks and going in depth about the meanings of those cards and the ideas represented in those cards, that would be so special if if you would be willing to do that. Of course, I don't want to force people. I don't agree with forcing anyone to do anything. But if you are, if you are open and you want to do that, I think, an idea, it would be an app with, oracle cards, or, those already exist where you can get an app for all the Paulette Baron Reed's decks, but maybe creating a system where you pull an oracle card and then there's you explaining the meaning of the card. So, for instance, going through what does it mean to have a turtle with treasure on its back. You're not searching outside for the treasure, you're searching within you, your inner resources, and you've talked about a lot about that before. So, that could be something huge. Also, especially there's a deck called Oracle of the Seven Energies. And, all those cards are huge, especially the one about writing your own story. There's a card called Writing Your Own Story, where you're, creating your own narrative into being. There's one called, there's another called, about purpose. There's another about, release, and another about, great big love, huge love. There's another one about waking the lion. And this particular card is about coming into your heart, moving beyond your fear, stepping into your courage, stepping into your fire, stepping into your authenticity, owning your authenticity, moving that direction. Of course, that is what the North Node in Aries is going to be a lot about. So I feel like definitely the Seven Energies Oracle deck. The Spirit Animal Oracle deck. I, know from watching you that you are, really into animals and nature. And so that deck could also be, a great one, with looking at everything from the wasp spirit. Sometimes life stings. I'm afraid of wasps and their nuisance. To the butterfly in transformation, and to the canary, if I'm saying that correctly, singing your own song. So you could really go in depth with your own life experiences, your own insight, your own pearls of thought-provoking wisdom, and yeah. So I'm really excited to bring you on board here. And there's so much to look forward to. I'm really thrilled to have you. And also I think, you talking about your own natal chart and giving your own interpretation, or better yet, another astrologer interpreting your own natal chart, perhaps, which one, you would like, so, yeah. So, anything else that I can think about to say at this particular time? The details of being here, living quarters, Susan, Linda, and Daniel are my three head officials there. They'll tell you everything that you need to know more in detail. They will walk you around the Amenten. You'll, get involved with that. And you'll probably be coming to the Amenten and leaving and coming back, and, sort of going back and forth between, coming and going. Depends upon, am I inspired to, bring you, have you come here at this particular time, or, whatever occurs, given the, kind of movement of time, that we have coming up here and moving forward. So, yeah. So, there's a lot here, and, I'm, very excited about it. And, yeah. So, and another thing that you have, ongoing things to say about so many things, and so many different metaphors and analogies that you also put into your work. So, yeah, so many positive things that I have to say about what you do, and, what you bring to the table. to, the world, to, YouTube, to social media, all those kind of things. And all, the bounty that you have to provide. So, that's just a little welcome video, and I will look forward to seeing you. Now, given what's going to be happening, given the plans that I have, it may be a little bit later, and the time that I'm thinking about is mid-July, when the nodes change signs. I think that's going to be super exciting, in a proper time, because of the activities that my Amenten will be involved in, and yeah, with all the plans I have. So yeah, so we'll see. Maybe something else can happen. You can come into contact with me, Susan, Linda, Daniel. All the information is in the email of this video, and you can arrange a time for you to come in. Of course, you'll get set up with your living quarter when you're here, and certain details will be underway. And so yeah, I'm very excited about it. So I'm thrilled, and I'm really looking forward to have you come, here. And yeah, I'm super, um, you know, ecstatic about it. So that's it for now.